And on with us also is Mike Alcock, Managing Director of Gomo Learning, and Craig Weis, CEO and Lead Analyst of the Craig Weis Group. We are going to be getting started here in just a few moments. We've got quite a few people that are coming in and getting situated. Just a little bit to let you know, you are all on mute by default, but we will be taking your questions and collecting them and then asking them at the very end. If you see at the very bottom, you should see a questions panel, and hopefully everybody can hear me. And just to test that out, maybe perhaps in the questions panel,
Tom, can't hear you.
all right, it looks like we've got Fred from Texas. Very good. All right. And it looks like we got Alex from Maine. Beautiful Maine up there. That's nice.
Hey, Tom.
Okay. Yes.
You may have dropped out when you were asking the question. We just lost you for a sec. If you want to ask it again.
Okay, sure. I was asking everyone, if you see the questions panel, to maybe go down and introduce yourself, say maybe where you're from and what the weather is like. All right, looks like we've got Divya from West Virginia. Hello. Tim from Boston, cloudy but 60s. Brendan in Dublin, Ireland. Interesting. Weather's depending on which window you're looking at. Got Nick in Otford. Someone else from Ireland. Syracuse. My daughter went to a lacrosse camp in Syracuse. Oh, we got Barak from Sweden. Daryl in warm and sunny South Florida. Yep, my parents live in Naples. Know how that is. Philippe from Paris and from L'Oreal. Fantastic. Good to see you on. All right, we just got, again, more people coming in. Just maybe another 1 or 2 more minutes to get situated, and then we'll turn it on over to Mike. All right, got a few more people that are popping in. All right, and just to let everybody know, for those of you who have just joined us, my name is Tom Tate, Business Development Manager for Gomo in North America, and we will be turning on the webinar in just about 1 more minute. If you would like to ask a question, there is a questions panel down at the bottom of your panel. If you would like, you can go ahead and maybe just give us a quick hello, tell us where you're from, what the weather's like. We've got some interesting responses, different places, people from all over the world. We'll be starting here in just 1 more minute, around 3 after the hour. Okay, it is now 3 after the hour, and we're going to go ahead and I'll turn it over to Mike Alcock, Managing Director of Gomo Learning. Mike, you have the floor.
Thanks, Tom. Just checking, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Fantastic. And you can see my screen as well? Tom, I'm going to take that as a yes.
That is a yes.
Thank you. All right, so thanks, Tom, for looking after everybody. about to make a start. So today, well, thank you for spending this afternoon or this morning with us on today's webinar. What can we expect from the authoring tool in 2017? Featuring Craig Weis. Quick introductions. I'm Mike Alcock, the one in the middle of your screen at the moment. I'm Managing Director of Gomo Learning. You've just been hearing from Tom Tate, Business Development Manager for North America for Gomo, and Craig Weis, who's CEO and Lead Analyst of the Craig Weis Group, regularly featured as the most influential person in e-learning in the world. So we're going to make a start. And we're going to start by a quick introduction to Gomo. For those of you who don't know us, we're going to look back at the authoring tool world in 2016. I'm then going to hand over to Craig, who's going to talk about his predictions and visions of the future for 2017. For those of you who know Craig, he's usually incredibly accurate with these things, and what he predicts tends to come true. So I'm sure you'll find that really interesting. We'll then bring it back to what we're doing with Gomo in the future, and maybe a quick look at Gomo, certainly some Gomo projects, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. As Tom said at the top of the presentation, you have the questions panel in your GoToWebinar software. You can type your questions in there. Tom's going to endeavour to answer them as we go along. So anything you see on the screen, you think, what does that mean? Feel free to ask in the questions panel. Tom will respond directly to you if he can. And at the end of the session, we will open it out to a full question and answer session where Tom was going to read out the most interesting questions and share them with the audience. So let's make a start. Now, for those of you who don't know us, and I know there's some old friends of ours on this webinar, but also some new faces and new names, we believe we're the world's leading cloud-based responsive HTML5 e-learning authoring tool. But we're more than just authoring. We also offer integrated hosting and analytics, and very recently we've added in native app delivery for offline delivery of learning content. Who are our customers? They tend to be global organizations. You don't have to be. We have plenty of small one-person e-learning businesses, small to medium enterprises using Gomo, but Gomo plays particularly well to global organizations who are working in obviously dispersed geographical situations. We've been winning lots of awards. So Brandon Hall gave us Best Advancing Content Authoring Technology 2015. Craig, God bless him, who's on the call today, has us rated as one of the top 5 authoring tools in the world. And our most recent accolade was from the Fosway Group. They run their Fosway 9 grids for a variety of different learning technologies, including authoring systems. And you can see their Gomo on the very top right as a core leader, as far across and diagonally to the top right of that diagram as it's possible to get. We are part of a bigger group. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we're part of Learning Technologies Group. Learning Technologies Group is building a global learning technologies focused business. And we own a number of companies within the group. Leo is one of the world's largest e-learning production houses with hundreds of staff, most of them using Gomo to create e-learning content. Utlaya creates off-the-shelf financial services training, again using Gomo. Preloaded is a games with purpose company, so serious learning games. Rustici, a lot of you are probably familiar with. They look after the e-learning standards such as Scorm and XAPI. And very shortly, we've just announced a huge bid for Net Dimensions, and that deal is about to close. It's gone public, so Net Dimensions will be added to this diagram very shortly. For those of you who aren't familiar with Gomo, I'll just show you very quickly the architecture, because it often surprises people how much you get with Gomo, because it's more than just an authoring tool. So I think this this particular diagram will show you. So everything on the left of the diagram is the authoring side of the product, and everything on the right is the hosting and analytics. So from an authoring perspective, we're cloud-based. You can log in from a browser from anywhere and start working in Gomo. Because we're in the cloud, we're fully collaborative, so you can work with your colleagues, whether they're sat next to you in the office or whether they're on the other side of the world. We have online review, so you can share a course with your colleagues and stakeholders and get their review comments and notes directly into the course. And then, like every other authoring tool that's out there, we do have the traditional publish to Scorm option, where we can publish a course out of Gomo, completely disconnected, and it can go up into any Scorm LMS. However, that's not really the intelligent way to do it, because we also have the Gomo hosting and analytics cloud. This allows us to publish a course across to the blue half of the diagram and then distribute it in lots of interesting ways. If you're targeting an existing LMS, as most people are, and as Craig will tell you later, there's 700 other things at least out there, we've got a really unique bit of technology, the Gomo LMS wrapper. So this allows you to effectively embed a course inside any LMS and update it dynamically from Gomo. So instead of sending your LMS a 200 megabyte Scorm file, you can send it the Gomo LMS wrapper. It's about 12 or 13 kilobytes typically. That goes into the LMS. It looks like Scorm, runs like Scorm, and tracks like Scorm, but it's looking back at the Gomo servers for the course content. So instead of sending it a huge file, you're sending it a tiny file, instant upload, and then when you need to make changes to the course, you just overwrite the course in Gomo. The LMS will instantly see the changes. So live updating of content inside your LMS. Just going around the diagram, we also generate direct links. So if you want to email a course to somebody, tweet it, Facebook, LinkedIn, distribute by any social media, you can do that with Gomo. We generate embed codes. So if you want to take a Gomo course and embed it in any web page, your own website, an intranet site, anywhere you like, you can do that. We have Gomu Central, which is a mini learner portal where you can invite learners to log in and consume your Gomo courses. We have the Gomu Central App, which allows users to download Gomo courses to their smartphone or tablet, consume them offline, and when you get back to the office, the app will ring home and send your learning results back to Gomo. And from every one of these distribution methods, you get Gomo's XAPI analytics. Even for the courses that are inside the LMS, you get full XAPI analytics. And this can be really important from a learning perspective. Your Scorm LMS will probably tell you that Mike took a course yesterday and scored 75% in the quiz. At the same time, Gomo can tell you that Mike took a course yesterday on his smartphone, scored 75% in the quiz, and it was question 5 that he got wrong. And it's these kind of deep learning insights that allow you to hopefully improve your learning outcomes. If everyone's getting question 5 wrong, let's take a look at that. Let's see what the issue is with question 5. So that's a little bit on Gomo, just for a little bit of background. Let's take a look back at 2016 and some of the key things that we did in Gomo. Because we're a cloud vendor, we're updating the products all the time. You can find a release notes page on the website, so we're really bringing out lots of new functionality. And what did we bring out during 2016? The first one was the Gomu Central App. I just mentioned it. So one of the few authoring tools that allows you to build courses that will go onto a native app on a mobile device and support full tracking of that content. We added in full multilingual support. So previously, much like other authoring tools, if you wanted to do a French version of a course, you could do, but you ended up with 2 courses, the English version and the French version. We've now added in full multilingual support within a single SCO. So you can now have a course with 22 languages, and it's just one course with localized, effectively, layers within the course of multilingual content. We added in just before Christmas question banks and randomization. So previously we have always had quizzes in Gomo, but now you can set up banks of questions and then embed them in your course and randomize the sections so that 2 students who are sat next to each other can't be looking over each other's shoulders and checking the answers. And of course, we're always improving the product in other ways, so improving the usability, improving the look and feel. We use something called themes that control how your courses look, and we're adding new themes constantly into the product. And it was all that development work and effort that really allowed us to grow by 60% last year as a business, which we were really pleased about, and also pushed us to the top right corner of the Fosway 9 grid. What did we see as a vendor working in the industry as well? What were some of the sort of industry trends that we saw coming out last year? I think one of the first ones was now everybody wants mobile-first content, and Gomo is very much a mobile-first delivery platform. This is my setup. I have a Windows 10 PC, I have an iPad mini and a Google Nexus Android phone, and in the top left you can see that Gomo fills the screen on all the devices. So we produce responsive HTML5. You design a course once in Gomo and it'll work on any device, any screen size, any orientation. There are still lots of tools out there that either can't do that, they'll take a course and squish it into a third of a screen size, or they'll force the user to spin the device around in the hand, or they'll just fail to render. And we saw that in most, if not all, of the tenders we answered last month, people were looking for proper mobile solutions where they could use their devices effectively. Everybody's got a smartphone. Many big organizations are opening up bring your own device policies, and they need e-learning content that works on those devices properly. The next thing we saw was the impending death of the desktop dinosaur. Gomo is a cloud solution. It's where software should be, in my humble opinion. And a number of the big tenders that we went for in 2016 explicitly specified cloud solutions only. So a lot of the tenders and the ones that we won, for example, at the BBC and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, those were cloud solutions only. So if you were a vendor of a desktop dinosaur, you weren't even allowed to respond to the tender. And we can only see that really continuing as everything moves to where it should be in the cloud. Who wants to download and install a gigabyte's worth of software, and how on earth do you collaborate with somebody who's even next door to you, never mind 1,000 miles away? So we definitely saw the move towards cloud solutions. And also ease of use. Some of these solutions out there are getting very complicated to build mobile content. You've got to build 5 versions of the same course, and again, there's a lot of pushback against that. People were looking for nice drag and drop GUI interfaces, no programming language, that you could easily build your content. So, just before I introduce Craig, hope you're on standby. I'm going to introduce you and switch over to your bit of the presentation in just a moment. We'd just like to find out from you, the people that have attended here today, what are you looking to find out? What things would you like to find out about the direction the authoring tool is going to in 2017? So please feel free to tap away into the questions panel. I'm going to hand over to Craig very shortly, and Craig will talk about his view of where the authoring tool is going over the next 12 months. But feel free to tap in your questions. We won't answer them now, we'll answer them at the end when we open it up to the question and answer session. But hopefully, if you can all see the questions panel, feel free to start putting your questions in around the authoring tools area now. And let's go to the future and the crystal ball part of this presentation, a look at the L&D landscape in 2017 with Craig Weis. So Craig, I'm just going to switch over to your presentation. I'll make that full screen, and I'm just about to unmute you, Craig. 1 second as I get to the appropriate point. There we are, Craig. You should be able to talk. We should be able to hear you. And
yes,
I'll hand
that's
over
correct.
to you.
Great. Thank you all, and thank every one of you for being able to attend today. Since everybody's talking briefly about weather, I'm here in beautiful London. It's bright and balmy. It's got to be at least 95 degrees outside. I personally haven't been out today, but I'm going to throw that out there. I'm actually from Los Angeles. So let's kind of jump in here, emerging trends about authoring tools. And the authoring tool market, before I dive in here, is still sort of a dichotomy. It's surprisingly that there are um, many vendors that are still on the desktop, yet pitch mobile product. And then there are, of course, vendors that are cloud-based. And this is an ongoing, on-the-go workplace, and it has been for years. And so I think there's the reason why you don't see more people in the cloud, I believe it just comes down to cost. They don't want to invest the money into moving into a cloud-based solution, even though a cloud-based solution is far superior, just because of really a lot of variables, including people, especially people creating courses. People no longer just sit in front of their workplace. Anybody that's ever created a course knows that they're not just sitting in front at their desk. So if we can bounce over, click, please. There we go. Great. So here's where we are in 2017, and some of these will then, of course, lead into 2018. And I always say, you know, what you hear, some people love to pitch now. I say pitch, promote what they're doing, and in fact, they're not really getting there. And you know, but here's where I think the market is going to be heading. You're going to get a lot more integration. And what does this mean? Integration is two-pronged. One, more third-party authoring tools, vendors like Gomo, and there's others, who integrate into a learning management system, and that means any LMS. Because you're cloud-based, it gives you definitely much more of a flexibility to do so. And that doesn't mean that you have the ability to upload third-party courses. You can always do that for overwhelmingly the LMS space, which today I track over 1,200 globally. So 1,287 actually. So the market, as you can tell, is massive. Now, the cloud-based authoring tools, you could always upload the third-base, you know, if the system allowed it, the LMS did, had that capability. But if you have the ability, if the system's in the cloud, it wasn't necessarily, you know, an opportunity here to take courses and you can push them right into a learning management system. And some like Gomo maintains the contents also on their servers in the cloud. Some they do that as well, but they also can enable you to just push it all over there. So there is some variance, but the point is that you have a much more tightly integrated piece. I think the second thing, so that's going to continue. The second thing, and increase. The second thing will be the ability for authoring tools to accept other APIs. You know, learning management systems can do this already. And you know, in one case, you actually may be having an API from the authoring tool vendor right into the LMS that makes a tighter integration. The other way is, though, what if you had the ability, say your authoring tool vendor didn't have a robust survey tool? Well, I API my authoring tool from SurveyMonkey. So SurveyMonkey does have an API. I tie that into my authoring tool. Now I have a much more robust survey capability than I would with any type of an authoring tool, because SurveyMonkey obviously is a surveying tool. So I expect you're going to start seeing more of this kind of capability. Dropbox, for example, Google Drive, OneDrive, again, making the world even much smaller and integrated. And the LMS vendors are starting to do this, or they are. And I think you're going to see it jump more into the authoring tool space. 100% mobile, that's continuing. I mean, the mobile first is a marketing piece, and everybody today kind of uses it. I mean, nobody wants to say mobile second, right? So mobile first is the big piece, and you know, Mike's correct. I'm a believer that to me, when somebody says mobile-based courses, I'm a mobile learning purist, and a mobile learning purist says the course should look great on a mobile device, and if it's on a desktop or say even a laptop, it should not look great, right? Because hence it being truly mobile. And I believe that this can be very successful when you're, putting it down into a smartphone or a phablet, which just means a bigger screen size, and as well as when you're talking tablets. And this also kind of ties into something I'll get into afterwards here with VR and AR content, and of course my belief that mixed reality is going to be the driver. This all ties back into mobile. Publish or perish, again, this is the value. It sort of ties into the cloud-based, being able to, publish out that content. And when I say content, I think we're going to be expanding. We just typically think courses, but I also believe in the variance of the term content, which could be videos, it could be documents, it could be interactive books, it could be, whatever future tech, VR content, AR content, and I'm a believer that that's going to kind of come into place. And then it's just sort of a rapid publishing capability that occurs. And again, this all actually, as you start seeing it, all kind of ties back into the integration of retaining this. We should always have multiple backups. You never know what's going to happen. Anybody that experienced yesterday's issue with Amazon, because of all the servers that are out there, I think recognizes the importance of that. Basic to advanced, this is continuing, but it's really taken off. It showed up in late 2016. Everything, of course, shows that it's going to continue. What does this mean? So, the people that were the actual, the true, what I don't want to say true, but the long-term instructional designers, course developers, people that grew up with Authorware and Dazzler Max, were always disappointed that rapid content authoring tools, which dominate the market today, never really hit the advanced feature sets, the things that they really wanted to push the envelope, and yet nowadays, and then of recent, there were some tools that came out where, I knew of boutique and custom shops that were using the authoring tool to create unbelievably custom designed courses. So the capability has been there just in the last year or so, last couple of years, to make it even stronger and stronger. That said, you then had sort of these base tools, which is what rapid content authoring tools were designed for. The rapid content authoring tool market, the reason it took off was that its premise was that anybody could sit down and create a course without any type of an instructional design or course development background. And this is still the case today, but there are people that obviously once you attain those skills, you want to increase. So what some vendors are starting to do, and I think you'll see more of it, there's a very well-known vendor out there. I don't like to use third-party names here, on a discussion, but Articulate, what they've done with Storyline 360 and what they started doing with the Storyline 2 was that you could just jump right in and create a course without knowing any type of, there really wasn't a learning curve, where in Storyline 1 there was. And why was that? Because Articulate Studio was a tool they can easily create courses, really a PowerPoint converter type of product. And so there was a learning curve because Storyline was a much more robust, advanced solution. Nowadays, it's not like that. You can come in, you can create a PowerPoint course, you can have no, basic, you're brand new to this and you want to go ahead and take that. And the reason is there's multiple factors here, and one I won't really discuss. But, it's all about everybody sort of getting into this piece, which thus, of course, ties in here to one-stop shop. We want the authoring tools are going to become much more one-stop shops. Why go anywhere else if everything is included? One of the things Gomo is going to be doing, and I'm a big proponent of this with any vendor, and there's other vendors that have it or have it in place, is a screen recording and capturing piece that's strong. There's plenty of vendors that have had it and they've always been kind of basic, and there are more that they're kind of adapting to it, but really something strong. And again, why should I go and buy, say for an example, a Camtasia, which is really a recording authoring tool, does it with video, if I can get that in my own third-based authoring tool, especially a cloud-based. I'd rather have it in the latter than me jumping around. Again, all these kind of things, more of this more assets, more capability. You know, people always say to me, God, I wish the authoring tool had RLOs, which means reusable learning objects. And a learning object could be a piece of video content within the course. It could be an avatar, a character. It could be a little button. I mean, anything they think of as an object could be that. You know, when you have the repeated buttons going through, it could be pieces of content. It could be quizzes. It could be so all these assets, themes, are in a library. Think of a library. Some vendors call them asset management, and no one likes to constantly redo the same thing over and over again. And wouldn't it be great if I could just take these assets and they're in this one course and then I put them away and then I take them again, I use it in another course down the road. So that's what reusable learning objects are. And I think you're going to see more assets. You know, there's vendors out there that we have 10,000 assets, we have 20,000 assets. I don't think you really need that many. I mean, you don't need 10,000 assets because you're not going to use 10,000 assets. So, you know, it's the belief of we have to have everything in there. You know, realistically, you're not going to use all those assets, but there should be enough kind of capabilities in there. You know, voices, voice acting, voice things I can pop in. I think you're going to see more of this than that. And even the ability, I think, for some vendors, you know, like a vendor, for example, eLearning Brothers, they're totally an asset solution. You buy these assets and pay. I think you're going to find some vendors that are just going to go beyond what they normally do. And when you think about it, one-stop shop, why go to eLearning Brothers if I can get everything included in my authoring tool? It wouldn't make any sense. Video built, you know, people today are starting to go beyond just putting a video in the course. They want to have the video as the course. The biggest question, the challenge, of course, is getting the bandwidth, so it's got to be compressed. You've got to have the right frames per second, be able to recognize what the device is using and the speed. There's vendors slowly starting to see this. I know of one that does it, but you're going to see much more of this. And you know, one of the big things people want to have is the ability of bookmarking and to do a table of contents, right? I mean, that's the value of courses, the ability for me to bounce around as a learner, to focus on what I need to know when I need to know it. So you want a table of contents. And so we really don't do a good job today with video on that. And I think you're going to see third-party, you're going to see authoring tool vendors start enabling that capability, which also thus expands the analytics much more than, you know, how many times I looked at the video. Nobody cares. It's more important for me to know where they are in the course of bouncing around. So you're going to have, of course, assessments that can go right in there, questions, layers. With video, I think you're going to see more of that. And microlearning, it's a buzz. Everybody, you know, I was doing microlearning in 2000. All it just means is the course is smaller, tighter. And you should always, by the way, just focus on one topic, one specific thing, maybe 3 points. The course should be no more than 3 minutes in length if you're going to do a base microlearning or an ideal. But you can actually create a series of courses that have, and I say lengthwise because people always want to know, right? How long is it going to take me to complete this course? Even if you tell them about the bounce around power. So I created 4 courses, no more than 10 minutes long in each course. They could bounce around. Capability was very active, interactive, engaging. That's microlearning. You're going to see a lot more microlearning, more people, and the value, of course, is with video. People just like video today, so you've got to have, right, that whole thing about slicing and dicing, and of course we get back to video one-stop shop. Microlearning is the big thing. And that piece, you know, Gomo also talked about, I think you're going to definitely see more vendors do the analytics piece and give that option for people, sort of a light LMS. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of it. I think an authoring tool should be an authoring tool, and an analytics should be a learning platform or a system, whatever. But that's the trend that's taking place, and that's just a reality of it. Preview in real time, this of course ties back, I think, to the mobile piece as well as everything. You know, people that do previews, it tends not really to look, you know, it's a preview, but it doesn't really get me a true sense of what a preview looks like on various mobile devices. I think you're going to see more of that. There's a few vendors doing it today, and you know, the really best way to do is you have what's called no widths. So when somebody says mobile responsive, there's still widths involved. That's where Mike hit it correctly, that screen gets squished and everything else. No widths means it actually shows up as it would for the course in a mobile device, and as well as, laptop, desktop, you may have, the Kindles will get eventually into the VR, and of course the huge one, an improvement in UI and UX. UI is user interface, UX is user experience. Vastly improved. You're going to start seeing more and more of them get into the modern. This is definitely true with cloud-based, not all of them, but some. And I think you're going to definitely see it. There's people love talking about, say, Captivate and Storyline. I think, when they have the ribbon experience, it is a ribbon, but then they have all these other kind of boxes. That's not user intuitive. Photoshop reminds me of Photoshop. It's got all these kind of cool features and everything. It's got sort of it, but you still have to even learn almost the UI, and I think that's a down minus, especially when you're talking about somebody who's new to this. So I think you're going to start seeing more of a modern look with UI and UX. Can you bounce on over, Mike, to the next slide, please? When we get there. Okay, there's a slight delay, and I apologize. All right, the big four. Learning tech is going to play a huge role in 2017. I've hit on a couple of them. Let's talk about VR, AR, and MR. So if you haven't read my blog article on that, I recommend. I rarely really pitch my blog articles, but I have a very good one about immersive learning. And by the way, immersive learning directly ties to virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. People think immersive learning, I could be playing a video game and people will say to me, that's immersive learning. No, it's not. It's a video game. There's a big difference. I could argue watching television is immersive learning in that case. Virtual reality. Okay, so many people, when they hear the term virtual reality, they think immediately of, say, Oculus Rift, because it gets a lot of play in there. There's other people coming into place. And Oculus Rift actually offers two versions. They offered a tethered version, which rarely most people buy. It's about $1,500, and it ties to a computer. Majority of people, if they're purchasing Oculus Rift, it's the standalone headset, and I think it runs about 600 US. So that's that piece. And then that's what people tend to think of when they think of virtual reality, because they see these on these headsets. And you may have seen the Samsung commercials, and Google has one called Daydream and whatever. But everything, all the data is pointing to the takeoff of virtual reality related to smartphones. So you have a smartphone, you get a smartphone headset, that's what Galaxy is, and you put your smartphone in it, and now you can do virtual reality. You can see virtual reality content that is in there, and that's what the takeoff is. Now, the minus on that is you have to have an Android phone. The headsets are all geared towards an Android. Could you use your iOS phone in there? The answer is yes. There's just not that many apps in the Google Play Store, and there's definitely limited app in Apple Store. So you take the headset, you slide it in there for an Android, and you get this virtual reality content based on these apps. Why you see a lot with that, that's where the smartphone explosion is going to be, and that's very important. Remember, we talked about mobile learning and how it has to be mobile first, that term, and mobile responsive. Well, when you're thinking about a smartphone, virtual reality content is going to look, in design-wise, a lot different than me putting it on a headset only, let's say, like Oculus Rift. There. By the way, the Sony PlayStation VR headset has just, come out in the last few months. They've already sold 900,000 units, breaking all their records. It has to be tied to a PlayStation. That's the piece that's coming in there. Augmented reality is, Apple's a huge believer of this. Tim Cook has already said that. They've bought up some shops, but his belief is having augmented reality within the iPhone specifically, and there's a variety of apps that are already into place with that. And augmented reality just means media of some form is layered on top of what you're seeing, and that could just also be layers, and you can tie social and all this other kind of functionality into it. Mixed reality is my belief, which is a combination of virtual and augmented reality combined. HoloLens is supposed to get to that point. That's the Microsoft product. It's going to be tethered first to the PC, And at some point it will go beyond that, and there's actually 4 manufacturers into that. If you're curious about the VR headsets, they tied to smartphones, they can run anywhere from about £5, $5 all the way up. Google Daydream runs at about 79 US. It's heavily being committed by Google. If you want to go no frills, you can buy the cardboard on Amazon for about $10. And it is what I just said, cardboard. So mixed reality is going to be the big thing. Here's the challenge, just as related to this, is everybody's talking virtual reality. Right? I mean, that's the formal thing. But when people talk about, they're thinking of the Oculus Rifts. They're not realizing or thinking about really the smartphone headsets, which is what's going to take the market. So that's part of the challenge. And so there's no doubt in my mind custom shops are going to be building virtual reality content. The challenge is the authoring tools. Will the authoring tools invest the money into developing capabilities, not just for the ability to play play and then play back within a headset, or play within their system, the ability to do VR? And then the answer is pretty much yes. I want the ability to actually create the courses, the content, because there'll be content for that, and no vendor has done that. So that's sort of the big question. Well, I do believe somebody's going to hit it by the end of 17. Is it going to be greatly successful? I'm not really buying that as yes. I think there's things, because you're going to need the data. It's one thing to look at it. It's another thing to attract data. We talked about it, features for one and for all. You're just going to have many more features. Learning tech is going to play a big role. I mean, there's additional things kind of coming into play. It's funny, I remember when people were talking 3D, where's that today, right? That went right down the toilet. Mobile plus video plus X, this is all kind of the combination. You're starting to see all these little pieces come into there. And then you have increase in cost. This is a really kind of a trend that's concerning to me, is that there are more vendors sort of starting to go to the subscription-based model, away from just one license. And the one license is, the per license always range from very inexpensive to, $1,500, $2,000 a license. But with subscription-based, it's based on a number of seats, which are for instructional designers per se. I know one that's actually based on the content you're creating, kind of bizarre. But the cost increase over that period of time. It's always under the guise of month or year. They want you to go the year thing, so they may toss in some months. But I think you're going to see an increase in cost. Why you have an increase in capabilities will be the argument, for that. So I'm already seeing an increase in cost across the board, not with every vendor. Next, please. Okay, it's always been asking questions now rather than learning later. And this is part of a consumer thing here towards you. Before I jump into this, first and foremost, always get a trial of any authoring tool. Do that. If it's a cloud-based, you want 30 days, not 14-based. Some give you, unlimited. I don't think that's a smart move on their part, but, have that capability. Play around with it. Test it. If they say you can do collaborative, do that. There are some vendors that offer that, and then they turn it off. You want everything, that if it's like you bought the product yourself. So always do that. I know too many people that get in, they play with like 2 things, and they go, yeah, this is perfect for me. Well, that's perfect for you today. Is it going to be perfect for you in a year from now? Think about that. Here's kind of the things, and I'll go left to right, left to right, left to right. So first thing, extensive set of assets, multiple categories and sections. I'm not a fan of just, here's all my assets, and you go play around and figure out, or they go, here's themes, and you have 50 themes or 100 themes. I mean, that's a category. I'm more interested in seeing categories based on functionality, on what it can do. So, some people will put in games, and the games are like some of the worst things you've ever seen. I always joke around, who thinks glossary is a game? I don't know anybody who does that. Or, $10,000 pyramid or Jeopardy. Boring. So I'm interested in seeing, multiple categories or section crossovers, and the ability to do a drag and drop capability of popping that right in, right off the asset. Vendors can do that, and I've seen sort of the move over pull where you double click and you drop it in. I think, just pull the asset over. You have a great search functionality. That's very important. So if it's video, it shows up in the video, but then it also shows up in another category because you're not necessarily may look for the term video. Game-based learning, it's got to be in there. There's got to be more games that have the capability of creating great game-based interactive learning. The basic is a learning journey. I know people sort of like that. To be honest with you, I think learners get very bored very quickly. Really all you're doing is pointing A, B, and C, and D. So I think you need more of that. Collaboration on hyperdrive. Again, this whole collaborative peer experience. There's only one vendor I know of that you can work on the same course page at the same time in different locations rather than having to log out and then logging back in. So I do believe that you're going to see much more of this collaboration on hyperdrive, more interaction, more communication, actually chat functionality going through there, and expanding. Am I going to see the ability to have webcam in there? I'm not sure in regard to that. Is somebody on their mic that's not on mute? Okay. And then we kind of get back into just quickly here, the human experience. Again, I believe you're going to have the ability here with the webcam where you can record webcam capability right within the course. At some point, a cloud-based authoring tool vendor is going to enable the possibility of doing sort of this webcam live experience within their tool where the course becomes the webcam experience. And it can offer this really additional layer. People, the LMSs are starting to incorporate, whether they're doing it by a product or themselves, or this real-time, webcam question and ask or coaching period, or somebody records and then uploads the video. That really hasn't been maximized in the authoring tool space. I think you're going to see a mobile engagement. I can upload the thing through a third party as a consumer. It goes in, and then that's now an asset. If you think about it, I'm recording the video of myself or somebody, I'm uploading it, or I'm giving it to the instructional person, but I have the ability to upload it myself. Maybe I have a separate license capability within there. Then the instructional designer and the person creating the course can take these assets. When you think about it, it's saving you time for having to record these things. Training support community. This is extremely important. There's a couple of vendors do a great job in it. You're going to see more vendors getting into it. It has to be this way. And, from your standpoint, this gets back to you. Is there a community? Are they providing helpful tips? Is there videos? Are they videos that are just them recording a long video, or does it focus on specific pieces? I'm a believer of, look, you're creating an authoring tool. You're creating courses. I should see an interactive experience in the training videos that you're doing or in the courses that you're doing, because you're gonna be using your authoring tool as the vendor is going to be doing it. So this is a great way to really tell whether or not the authoring tool can live up to what they're claiming to do. And then lastly here, we talked about communications beyond an LMS. There's already a couple of vendors that you can publish courses to LinkedIn. The capability of how much tracking, it's all about getting back these data analytics. So I publish it to there. Then what do I do? That's kind of a question that's really sort of these link pieces. And I think that's it, correct? I think that's it. So thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone being on the call today. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Some great points there. This is Mike Alcock again. Just checking you can hear me okay. I'll mute you now, Craig. Tom, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
All right, thank you. So, some great insights there from Craig, touching on some of the things that he's going to see in the industry, and hopefully that we'll be doing as well. So just bringing it back to Gomo, what have we got coming up into the future? Well, we had a Gomo user group meeting in December, and we polled our users to say what would they like to see in Gomo, and a lot of the functionality that we're going to build in the next 12 months is based on the feedback from our users. First one is a screen capture tool, as Craig mentioned, so a tool that will allow you to capture interactive simulations like the one we're seeing on screen now, and build out interactive IT training with Show Me, Try Me, and Test Me. We'll be putting in even richer X-API analytics. This just went live. This feature just went live on Monday or Tuesday of this week, which is geographical tracking in Gomo. And again, touching on some of Craig's points, whether you deliver your courses via an LMS, via a website, via LinkedIn, via Twitter or Facebook, we're tracking every single user experience, including their geographical location. Now, we will be integrating the watershed analytics system into the Gomo backend on the hosting side, so we'll have even more flexibility around analytics and reporting. More themes. We're working on some fabulous themes now. We've got one based on Google's material design standard. That should be shipping hopefully on Friday. That's a fabulous looking theme. There'll be more coming as well. And again, picking up on one of the things that Craig mentioned, a lot of customers are asking us for new interactions, drag and drops top of the list. Like at scale is probably next, and we are mulling over one that people ask for quite often, which is a certificate asset. I was going to give you a flying demo of Gomo, but we're running a little bit short of time. What I will do is just fire up some sample courses so you can see what Gomo content looks like, and be more than happy to give you a demo of the tool that sits behind it at any other time outside of this event. Do apologise, but it's 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Tom, if you could be looking at the questions panel, see what people have been bringing out. I'll hand over the mic to you in a moment, just show a few sample courses here. But what you're seeing here is finished content that's been created in Gomo. We've got the Jaguar Land Rover EPG, so they've got one of these for every model now. These are delivered via iPads in their retail stores. This is probably my favorite, the PwC Responsive Design Toolkit. Really fabulous looking course. So PwC teaching their global employee base about the principles of responsive design, using a lovely responsive design tool called Gomo, which is fabulous. We've got Accenture's LinkedIn Profile Builder, and this uses really nice vertical deep scrolling, very much like the PwC one. And this is a very in vogue method for delivering content from responsive HTML5 authoring tools like Gomo. And then this one I just spotted, it was in production by our partners at Leo. I just thought it was really nice use of full screen videos within Gomo. This is the Appleton estate, and I'm very tempted to grab some of their rum. And I know Tom's an aficionado of these such things, as you used to run your own liquor store. I'm not trying to paint you out as an alcoholic there, Tom, but I know you used to run your own liquor store, so yes, that all looks fantastic as well. So I think at this point we're running out of time to do a full demo. We've got 10 minutes to the top of the hour. So Tom, if you could just have a look at the questions panel for us, and just let me direct them to me or Craig as appropriate. If it's one for Craig, I'll open up Craig's microphone again. If it's one for me, I'll take it directly, and just let's answer any questions we've had from the audience on the webinar.
I've got some already picked out, and go ahead. And we have Fred, who is from Texas. Said that his company is currently looking at a popular quote-unquote desktop dinosaur, but is open to other options. What advantages does a Sass system offer over a traditional desktop tool?
Well, there's numerous, Fred, great question. I think the major benefits are, first of all, collaboration. You can work with your colleagues, whether they're sat next to you or whether they're 1,000 miles away. So most Sass tools are fully collaborative. I think Craig was talking about that. Collaboration is really important. It's the ability to build courses together, get review notes in the cloud, and so on. The other big advantage that a lot of our customers tell us is the reason they've gone cloud as well is that you generally don't need to involve your IT department. A big, at least two of the current desktop dinosaur crop, the most popular ones, the average size of the download for those systems is about 1 gigabyte. So you've got to download and install a gigabyte's worth of software, get it onto your PC, possibly get your IT department involved, look after a license on that PC. If you're buying 500 users, that's 500 licenses for your organization. If you're buying a cloud system, it's usually one license for 500 people. So it's the collaboration, it's the lack of IT involvement, and also I think another thing we hear a lot about is ease of use. A lot of the desktop dinosaurs, as I colloquially call them, they are dinosaurs. Some of them are over 15 years old, and a 15-year-old product has a lot of menus, a lot of buttons, a lot of features, and a lot of functionality, and that takes a lot of learning. The SaaS vendors generally are new, modern, up-to-date tools, and they're pretty easy to use if they've been well implemented within the cloud.
Okay, good answer. We have another one from Divya from West Virginia, and she wants to know if Gomo would be a good solution for creating microlearning.
Great question again. Thank you, Divya. Yeah, microlearning. Craig talked about this as one of the emerging trends. It's something we're seeing. I think, Tom, you've got an article on the Gomo Learning blog at the moment on this subject as well. But yes, Gomo features loads of features that make microlearning easy to produce. We've got a quick start wizard. You can build a course in probably 4 or 5 clicks. You can set up the structure. Obviously, microlearning, you only need 1 or 2 topics at the most. We've got themes in there so that anything you build comes out on brand. It looks fantastic straight away. You can be dropping your videos, your microlearning content into that course, populating your quiz, and then pushing it out to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, your LMS, your learners, your website. It literally, within an hour of thinking of a micro-learning course and assembling your assets, you could have something live on the internet, and you're going to have all of the XAPI analytics you'll ever need to see how many people have taken that learning, how well they've done in the quiz, and even where they were through the new geographical tracking feature.
All right, very good. Another one here from Satish in Illinois says, makes a comment that many tools do HTML5. What is it that makes Gomo different from those tools?
Yes, so there's HTML5 and there's HTML5, and clearly that's the emerging standard. So, the days of Flash-based e-learning are definitely numbered. And everyone is now putting in, we've got a publish to HTML5 option, but if the product is 5 years old, it probably wasn't designed with smartphones in mind. So there's HTML5 that fills the top third of a smartphone screen. It's useless. You can't read the text. Your fingers are too big. You can't click the buttons. It's not usable on a smartphone. So to pick up on one of Craig's points, which is a really great one, trial these products. There's other products out there that say they have got responsive capabilities, but you end up building 5 versions of the same course: a desktop view, tablet view, smartphone view, landscape view, and portrait view. So that's 5 times the effort of a truly responsive HTML5 tool like a Gomo.
Okay, here's an interesting question from Philippe over on your side of the pond. Could you share, or do you have an idea of the percentage of content that is created directly by a company internally using Gomo versus content created with maybe a design agency?
Well, most of our customers are, they're big organizations, and they're buying Gomo because they want to bring content development in-house. They want to be able to create their own content. So they're buying Gomo. Quite often they'll buy a nice custom theme off us, and they'll be able to get on and start building it. However, even those customers, and we've got big customers like the BBC who bought Gomo last year, they'll have peaks and troughs in demand. So the BBC have just commissioned a project off our partners Leo to get them over a sudden demand for content. So although they've got about 100 licenses, even with that amount, they still need a bit of extra help. So I think, to answer the question, the percentage is probably about, with Gomo, I would guess it's about 80% is produced in-house, 20% with a design agency. I do see some occasions where a design agency might be brought in for a really sort of high-end project, but with Gomo's themes, you can produce some pretty gorgeous stuff in-house yourselves. Again, one of the beauties of a cloud system is that when you do need extra resources, when you need a design agency, they can log into your account, and they can be building the course in your account in Gomo. You can see it. Obviously, you'll review it in there. They're not working in isolation and sort of rolling up every 3 weeks to a face-to-face meeting, and it's the first time you see what's going on. Those guys can be working in your account. So I think about 80-20 is the rule, but it's down to the customer at the end of the day.
Okay. Got another one from Adam from the UK, and he says that currently they have users, learners all over the world globally, but they have difficulty and sometimes with bandwidth pushing out from their LMS. And he wants to know if they host with Gomo, where are the courses pushed from? Basically, he wants to know where's the server located.
Okay, thanks for the question, Adam. We'll have to make that on the last one, Tom, as well, because it's 2 minutes at the top of the hour. So very quickly to answer that one. Gomo is hosted in its entirety on Amazon, and we use Amazon CloudFront as the CDN. Amazon basically syndicates Gomo courses around the world. And we have full global syndication with Amazon CDN. So if you spool up a course in India, for example, there might be a little bit of a lag the first time that course fires up, but it will get replicated onto the Amazon CDN in the nearest point of presence, which is probably India, knowing Amazon. And then from that point on, you'll have blistering performance with your Gomo courses. And that even applies with the Gomo LMS wrapper. So if you're pushing a course into an LMS, if you use the Gomo LMS wrapper, you're going to benefit from the speed and performance capabilities of the Amazon Global CDN. So it could be even, I've seen reports of people saying their courses run faster from the LMS wrapper than they do from their local LMS.
I do have one more question, and I think it's only because several people have actually asked this, so I think this one's kind of important. It's basically, several people have asked if they can get a sandbox or trial.
Absolutely. 21. We don't quite go to your 30 days, Craig, but we do a 21-day free trial. That's available from the Gomo Learning website. So we're just coming to the top of the hour. We've got to finish off now. The two people that you've been hearing from are myself, Mike Alcock, mike.alcock@gomolearning.com, and tom.tate@gomolearning.com in the US. I'll just flip Craig's contact details on the screen as well, so you can see Craig's contact details. You'll all have had lots of emails from me regarding this webinar, so for any follow-up questions, you can speak to me, you can speak to Tom, you can speak to Craig if you want to get in touch with Craig directly, and you can go to the website gomolearning.com and get a 21-day free trial of Gomo, and that's the Gomo website. Just click that button there, start your trial, no credit card required, and it's a full-fat trial, so you get 100% of the functionality. If you want to try the Gomu Central App, if you want to try pushing courses to LinkedIn and Facebook and your LMS, all the sort of things that Gomo allows you to do, you have all of those capabilities available in the 21-day free trial. So unless there's anything else pressing, Tom,
just wanted to go ahead, and because somebody just asked the question, but there will be a copy of this webinar on our blog site, so they could go back and view it again later if they'd like to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Craig, I'm just unmuting you in case you just wanted to add anything, but unless not, it looks like people are leaving now because we're past the top of the hour. So I'd just like to thank Craig Weis for his insights and input today. I'd like to thank Tom for moderating and looking after the questions. I'm Mike Alcock at mike.alcock@gomolearning.com. Thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon, and we hope to speak to you all again very soon. Thanks very much, and goodbye.